a lot of students that I talk to, it's the fear of the society, it's the fear of the unknown, it's the fear of the expectations that they're carrying that pushes them to probably become an engineer. And then they figure out that probably this is not something that I want it to be. And that's a reality for a lot of individuals and not just engineers. Probably fear is something that is stopping me from taking a plunge of starting something of myself, right? Fear is something that is stopping somebody who is in a relationship for 10 years to take that step to get married. Yeah. Where does this fear come from?
Lack of love, which comes from lack of self-knowledge. You see, when I tie my sense of existence, my very identity, to something that is unreliable, I will have to be afraid. It's like putting my heart on this table. Now, how can I live in security? The heart is out there on the table. Anybody can take it away. Anything can happen to it. Or the heart might grow legs and walk away on its own. My very existence has been subjected to something that is not in my control. Something that is definitely going to deceive me at some point. That is fear. My sense of self-worth comes from my monies,
Right.
my bank account. I will be afraid. That bank account can be closed anytime. Anything can happen. My sense of self-worth comes from my physical appearance. I very well know time will take it away. I will be afraid.
Right.
Who am I? I am the one who is praised or worshipped by the society. Oh, I'll be so afraid, so afraid. You talked of people working for their images. They would be living a cursed life. Because their heart is out there in the hands of strangers. Their entire identity is tied to their image, and the image is in the eyes of other people.
Correct.
So the image can get distorted or can disappear any moment. Just imagine how afraid they would be all the time. That's with the ego. Because the ego, I said, is a fundamental sense of incompleteness. Therefore, to complete itself, it just associates itself to anything possible.
Right.
And the things that you are associating yourself with, they're not reliable. They belong to the world. And the world can take them away. They belong to time. They came with time, and with time, those things will disappear. And you have tied your identity to those things. Now, how can you rest in peace? That's fear. If you do not have self-knowledge, you will always be afraid. My identity is linked to my husband's identity. Now, the husband has two legs. And the husband has a mind, a brain of his own. If your identity comes from your husband's name, as happens in India at least, you'd always be afraid as a wife. The husband can change his mind any day. You'd always be, having one eye on his secretary and the other eye on his email and mobile phone. What's he getting into? Who's texting him? Why is he on the phone so late in the night? Because you are afraid. If the husband goes away, what happens to you? Your very existence depends on the husband. That's fear. When you operate from the ego center and make something very, very important for yourself, and that something belongs to the world, it can go away anytime.
Right.
You are afraid. And in that fear, there can never be love. Never be love. If you are afraid of losing something, you'll be very violent towards it. Nobody lets his money go and have a walk down the road. What do? You lock up your money. That's violence. When something starts becoming very meaningful to you, you lock it up. You don't want it to have freedom, and that's violence. So love and fear just cannot go together. If you are dependent on something or somebody, you would be afraid. And that dependence cannot be called as love. And that's a confusion we often get into. Just because you depend on somebody or somebody depends on you, you start feeling as if it is love. It is not.
Probably the way the political parties think that people love them, but it actually is fear.
No. Love is a very rare quantity, and rarer in politics.
So if I'm interested in a particular profession, do I not pursue it wholeheartedly? Do I pursue it wholeheartedly, knowing very well that the results can be either 0 or 1?
One has to go into the very nature of interest. Aren't we interested in cricket? Aren't we interested seeing songs in movies? Practically everybody in India is interested in cricket. Nobody in Brazil is. And nobody in India is interested in ice hockey. So that's how flimsy the whole thing about interest is. In India, if you do not get a movie with songs, you say, I am disinterested, the movie would bomb. In Hollywood, if you have a movie with songs, that would raise eyebrows. What's going on? Occasionally, you do have an odd song, some, but typically there is no song.
Right.
So that's the nature of interest. It is never something of the heart. Love and interest are not the same thing. Interest is something that is given to you by your body, by your environment, by random chance, by circumstances, and all these. So that's how your interests come to you. So if you are interested in a vocation, first of all, you have to ask yourself, just 2 years back I was interested in something else. And 2 years before that I was interested in that. And when I was 4 years old, I was interested in becoming a fighter pilot. What happened to all those interests? Today I smile at those things and just shrug them off. I don't want to be a fighter pilot. I want to be, what do you want to be today? Oh, I want to be an investment banker. What happened to the fighter pilot? You were so interested in that. And how do you know that tomorrow you will not be looking at this iBanker just the way today you are looking at the fighter pilot? The self of 5 years old appears so naive and immature when you are 25. How do you know that at 35 you will not look back at this 25-year-old self and say, what the hell, how was I taking this fellow so seriously? No? So interest is something that you must always look at with healthy contempt. Interest, mind you, can even be induced in you. Interest can be aroused in you. That's what the entire advertising industry is about. They can make you feel interested in stuff that is intrinsically worthless to you.
Correct.
So of what value is this thing called interest? But then in today's world, we place so much premium upon this word, interest. Do what interests you, this, that. Whereas it's wisdom to realize that interest is the last thing that you should ever go after. Then people come up and say, no, then should we do things that we are not interested in? No. Figure out what you can love. Figure out what you can love. And you will never be able to transcend into love if you remain stuck with interests.
Wow. Again, it might sound repetitive. How do I find love?
No, you can never find love. You can only rid yourself all that which blocks love, all that which is just needlessly and coincidentally present in your mental space. Love is like an honored guest. They say love arrives only when the right space has been prepared and maintained for it. Right and clean and honored space. You prepare that space and you leave that space empty. And they say, then love arrives, and you cannot predict in what way, in what form love would arrive. But you can do your homework. And your homework is to clear the clutter. You cannot have garbage all over your place and yet wish for that esteemed guest to honor your insides with his presence. He won't come. So we keep looking for love all our lives, and then we complain, no, there is no love, there is no love because you haven't prepared the right space for it. Love is not something reclusive. Love is not something exceptional either. And love is not something that is meant for just a holy few. If you are human, love is a possibility. But if you are stuck with your interests, as we said, interests and greed and your ignorance and your delusions and all your nonsense, where is the space for love? And love is obviously not something about the man-woman relationship. Obviously, we are not talking in that context. Love is something you can give your life to.
Correct.
The work that I do, that's my love. That's my love. I'm not there to consume it. I can finish myself off for that.
Right. You spoke about clutter, and that probably is the worst thing possible for the generation of today. And I remember we started this conversation with your journey and how it was a assorted set of knowledge that was present in front of you. Right now, what we are dealing with is a scattered set of knowledge that we are trying really hard to make sense of. And that probably is resulting in a lot of clutter because we are seeing certain people, we are tracking their lives, we are feeling that this is what I can be or I want to be or I will be.
Seeing people and following their lives is not always something harmful. It's just that you need to have the right people to look up to.
Again, it's just like the right books.
The right books, obviously. All these people masquerading as influencers and biggies today, most of them are intrinsically very worthless. It's a very hopeless lot that our youngsters are looking up to. So that's the problem. Somebody has lots of money. Somebody is heading a tech firm. Somebody is all over the social media. Or somebody is politically very dominant. And he becomes a role model. Well, that fellow is garbage. And you have so much in human history to be inspired from. Why not go and read about the really worthy people? Why must you be limited to all these flash in the pans? They are today, they'll disappear tomorrow. They don't mean a thing. It's just that, when that spectacle is in front of you, it captivates your senses.
Right.
And you fall for it. That has to be avoided. And we cannot entirely blame the youngsters for it. The guidance, the protection has to come from those who pose as guardians and teachers in the society. Otherwise, extremely unworthy people will become role models. They have become.
Right.